Trudeau getting grilled on election interference. This is the Great White North Report. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre continued to grind at Trudeau over the federal election interference in 2019 and 2021. He accuses Trudeau of working against Canada and a foreign dictatorship's interests. I wouldn't go that far, but it does serve a point. Trudeau definitely benefited from the election interference of 2019 and 2021. It was alleged that the Chinese Communist Party funneled both money and directives to its consulates and embassy in Canada on which candidates to go for and which ones to use disinformation on in at least 11 ridings in 2019. They do this through the Chinese language newspaper, through Chinese Canadian groups that are in line with Beijing's policies, that are controlled by Beijing. They do this in a bunch of ways. And they wanted to see another liberal minority government in 2021. Minority governments are easier to handle than a majority government. More gets done in a majority government than in a minority one. And they picked the Liberals because they know the NDP have no hope in hell of ever getting in power, and the Conservatives are more hardline against them. So it doesn't surprise me if there was election interference. Trudeau responded saying comments risk weakening public's confidence in Canada's democracy. Well, apparently he's had multiple warnings since 2016 about it, election interference, and how the CCP tries to influence opinion in Canada, and he's done nothing about it. Even banning Huawei, he was one of the last of the Five Eyes to do so. After the United States, Australia, Great Britain, and New Zealand already had banned Huawei, we were the last. So Poilievre suggested that members of Canada's security services have been leaking information about election interference allegations to the media because they have been very worried about how the Prime Minister is working against the interest of his own country, his own people. Warned him for years. What has he done? He's covered it up, even encouraged it to continue. He hasn't done anything. When pressed with anything, Trudeau likes to duck and dodge. Try to keep his image squeaky clean when it's not. So Poilievre has been really pressing Trudeau on this in the House of Commons. You can go watch the clips on the House of Commons of Poilievre and Trudeau's little interactions. Trudeau calls suggestions he isn't loyal to Canada despicable, as far as Poilievre suggested. But again, Trudeau's not telling us everything he knows, because he knew that he got this. He was briefed on Beijing's plan to fund candidates, and he did nothing about it. He was complicit in that sense. So Poilievre tried multiple times Wednesday to get the Prime Minister to respond to allegations that he and National Security Advisor were warned that Chinese government officials were funneling money to Canadian political candidates, despite their claims to the contrary. And there was a report warning Trudeau that Chinese officials in Toronto had dispersed money to covert network tasked to interfere in Canada's 2019 elections. Again, Poilievre asked Trudeau directly which staffers received briefings and how much his party got in illegal donations funneled from Beijing. He's not interested in protecting the safety of people serving this country. He's interested in protecting the Liberal Party of Canada, because this is a huge scandal if it breaks. If it turns out that these allegations are true, it's going to really hurt the Liberal Party. So what's Trudeau going to do now? Well, the Conservatives have been calling for an independent inquiry into the election interference claims. And Trudeau promises to appoint a special rapporteur within weeks to investigate claims. Poilievre is not buying it simply because what will happen is Trudeau is going to appoint some amicable Liberal candidate and will be able to direct how the investigation goes. It should be an independent rapporteur. Poilievre thinks he'll pick another Liberal establishment insider tied to Trudeau and tied to the Liberals. So this has been a scandal that's been brewing for some time now. Back in November last year, Trudeau stated they had not been briefed on Chinese funding of candidates. One senator is calling on the Canadian government to take a much harder line against China. And Bill S-237 would establish a foreign influence registry in Canada, a system that would compel agents working on behalf of a foreign government to either register their interactions with public officials in Canada or face criminal penalties. This kind of thing exists in other countries, in the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. I, for one, would like to see that law in place. And then we should have a mirror policy when it comes to certain countries. A mirror policy is do unto them what they do unto you. I would definitely start closing down the CCP consulates in places like Vancouver and Toronto, where they have the most influence, and start moving our consulates out of mainland China and move them over to Taipei, Taiwan. I have no problems with that. I think it's time we shift our recognition. If we're going to deal with the one China policy, time to do it. Taipei is much more like us than Beijing. And it's hard to argue that Trudeau hasn't benefited from Beijing's influence when he received $200,000 from a Beijing-linked donor. 2016, Zhang Bin, a wealthy Chinese businessman and advisor to the Chinese government, made a donation to the foundation worth $200,000. You don't give $200,000 just like that and not expect something in return. This basically greases the wheel. $200,000 gets you a meeting with Trudeau privately. This is his foundation. Zhang Bin, he's not just a wealthy Chinese businessman and advisor, he's also a member of the CCP. You cannot be wealthy in China unless you're a member of the CCP. It's just how it works there. And the ironic thing, the stupid thing is they're going to give this money back. Why would you give it back? This guy gave the money in 2016 and you're giving it back? They're laughing at us. First of all, they used the money to grease the wheel and got what they wanted, and now we're giving that money back. So it's like they got a freebie. It makes no sense at all. I would have taken that money and given it to Kovrig and Spavor, or use it towards our military. So they've reimbursed Zhang the full amount of the donation. I think they only really got $140,000. Then they give some speech how an independent, nonpartisan charity, ethics, and integrity among our core values. Right? Not when it's that kind of money they're given. Not many people just hand over $200,000. That's a big donation. This kind of thing just adds fuel to the fire. Will we get a foreign influence registry system in Canada? Not with the current government that we have. The NDP will never go for it. And can we expect to see more of this? What will this special rapporteur do? A lot more talking. Nothing will get done until the next election. But it is interesting to watch Poilievre grill Trudeau on this and the responses he gets. But anyway, Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think of the whole foreign interference thing. And as well as, should we have given that money back, and what should we have done with that $200,000? Will Trudeau be able to worm his way out of this one? Leave comments in the comment section, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Until next time, this has been the Grey White North Report.